Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, you'll find yourselves as a power-hungry drug dealer trying to get rich quick. You'll be delivering goods to your customers, but watching out for the cops and rival dealers. Now they'll be trying to take you down as you negotiate, bribe, and scheme your way to the top, and you'll be trying to make the most money before time's up. Dopeman is a game for 2 to 4 players, plays in an hour, is for ages 18 and up, and published by Amoral Company. Now this game is for adults due to the theme, but the game does have a disclaimer that it's solely designed for recreational use for adults, and they do not endorse violence, drug dealing, gangs, or any other illegal activity in real life. So today we're going to be doing a rule school. Well, I'll teach you how to set up and play the game so that you don't have to read the rulebook yourself. Now, I've placed timestamps below me in the description of this video, just in case you want to jump to a specific section of the rules. Without further ado, let's get started. In Dopeman, you're trying to have the most money at the end of the 60-minute game. And you'll do so by moving around the board, buying your baggies of drugs from your supplier, and following text message notifications, going to the right spots to sell those drugs for a lot more money. But you'll also be trading drugs, money, and weapons with other players and selling all sorts of drugs in the right spots. You'll be trying to avoid the cops because they'll arrest you, but you can bribe them off or even have some blackmail to get out of it. But if you're in jail, you'll have to go all the way around to get back out again, which loses you time. And you can even rob other players for their drugs when you land on their space by a roll-off, and even increase your strength by having associates, or even by using some of the weapons that you've bought throughout the game. So let's see if you can wheel and deal, buy and sell, trade, rob, and make the most money at the end. I'm going to teach you how to set up and play for 4 players. Even if you're not playing with that player count, continue to watch the rest of this video because most of all of it will be the same, but I'll show you the differences of those player counts at the end of this video. First, set up the individual baggies with the drugs into supplies of like type like this off to the side of the board. Now each player is going to select a color that they're going to be. This is going to be a game piece and 3 associates. So each player is going to take all 4 pieces and put them in front of them. Now by selecting this color, you're going to be buying from a supplier the specific drug type that corresponds with the color of those game pieces. And you're the only one that's going to be able to buy from the supplier directly that drug. Now off the side of the board, you're going to place the 2 switchblades, pistols, brass knuckles. You're going to find the text message cards, shuffle them up and put them in a face down deck off to the side of the board, and you're going to place the $10 stacks off to the side as well. Give each player 3 text messages. These cards are secret. Only the player who has these cards can look at them, and also give them $100. Next, you'll put the board in the middle of the table. Each player will place their game piece in one of the corners of the board corresponding with the colored drug that they can buy from the supplier as mentioned earlier. You're going to take the black cop car and place it directly in front of the pizza spot, and you're going to place the black and white dice on the board. Now each player is going to have the opportunity to buy drugs from the supplier, and remember you can only buy drugs from the supplier of the color type that is your game piece. So in this case, this player can buy as many of these mushrooms as they want, keeping in mind that it's $10 per bag. Then each player is going to roll the white die and move their game piece clockwise along the white tiles. They're always going to be moving clockwise on these white tiles for the whole game. Then they'll roll the black die and they'll be moving the cop car clockwise on the green road, and that car is always going to move into that direction and on the road. Each player will do that. So it might look something like this at this point. Then the person who most recently did drugs goes first, and turns are going to rotate clockwise. And lastly, to start the game, start a 60-minute timer because that's how long the game lasts. The object of the game is to have the most money at the end of the 60-minute game. Over the course of the game, you're going to be buying drugs from your supplier, and you're going to be cashing those out by selling them to different clients, like at different apartments for different drugs and different amounts, and other different drugs as well. And you'll also be trading with all the other players in the game and trying to gather different drugs to sell them to make the money. Whoever has the most money at the end is the winner. Each player's turn goes through 5 phases. The first phase is the trade phase, where you as the active player can trade with any other player. You can trade text messages, drugs that you may have, money, any one of the weapons that you may have. It's all fair and good. There's no rules on trading. Then you go to the second phase, which is buying. One of the things you can buy is an associate. These associates are going to help you move around the board faster, and they're going to help you in robbery attempts. We'll go over both of those in just a moment. You can also buy a weapon. You can buy the brass knuckles for 50, the switchblades for 90, or the pistols for 130. These are going to add to your attack strength, but we'll show you exactly how this works later. So after you've possibly traded and then went to the buy phase and possibly bought weapons and or associates, you're going to roll. Now when you roll, you are going to roll both the white and the black die. So let's say you rolled this. The white die always moves you, and you're always going to move clockwise on the white tiles. You're also going to move the cop car clockwise on the green road, that amount as well. Anytime you land on or pass one of these text message notifications, you draw one of those from the deck and add it to your hand. So you'll simply take it from the draw pile and add it to your hand like that. Now picking up that text message is part of the business phase where you can also sell drugs if you want to. So for example, let's say I had this, which was, can I buy one of these drugs? And it's at the client at apartment D, which I happen to be on. Anytime you're on or have just passed on that roll, that apartment, you can sell the drugs that is on that specific text message. So let's say I had one of these drugs, I wanted to sell it, then I would make $50 for each bag of drugs I'm selling. In this case, it's just 50, but if I had sold multiple bags of drugs, it would be 50 per bag sold. Now this burnt text message card will go to a face-up discard pile, and the sold drug goes back to the supply of drugs. And if the text message draw pile is gone and all there are ones in the discard pile, you can take that pile, shuffle them up, and create a new draw pile. Now there's one other phase, it's the fifth phase, it's called rob. Now if you happen to have landed on a spot with another player, you can attempt to rob that player. And only the player that actually moved here has the option of robbing. Now how this works is the attempted robbery starts with a roll off and both players roll one of the dice, and whoever has the highest number will win. If the robbing player, the one that moved here, wins, they steal all of the drugs that this player has. If the player being robbed wins, then nothing happens, no drugs change hands. If there's a tie, you roll again until a winner prevails. And if you happen to land on a space that actually has more than one opponent there, you can only rob one of them, but you get to choose. Now there's ways to modify your attack strength. One of them is buy weapons. If you remember, the second phase of your turn, you can buy weapons. And as you see here, the brass knuckles will increase your attack strength by 1, switchblades by 2, and pistols by 3. And you can combine multiple weapons that you've bought. Now earlier in that second phase, we also said you could buy an associate. When you buy an associate, it always goes on the spot where your game piece is, and they always move with you. So if you're going to rob someone, the associate actually gives you a +1 attack strength. But another advantage to the associates is when you roll the die during your move phase, they actually allow you to move one more for each associate you have. So if you rolled a 3 and you had an associate, instead of moving 3, you'd move one more, so you'd actually move 4. So you move one more than the white die for each associate you have. Just as during the attack strength, you add one more for each associate you have. Now we mentioned that your game piece can buy from one supplier with the corresponding drug type. Anytime when you're moving, if you land on that space or past it, that's when, just like at the start of the game, you can buy a bag of drugs of that type for $10 a piece, and you can buy as much as you can afford. Now when moving, it's possible to actually get arrested from the cops. Let's say this was it, we rolled a 1, and because we have an associate, we move one more. So we would go 1, 2. Don't forget to pick up a text message notification because you landed on it or past it. In this case, we went past it. The cop car would move, again, clockwise, that much, and if it's ever adjacent to you, and if you have any drugs in your possession, you get arrested. However, if you have no drugs, even if you have weapons, you don't get arrested. However, there's 2 ways to avoid being arrested. One is to spend $50 from your supply and put it back in the box. The other way is to play a text message notification that you already have in your hand. It's called the informant and allows you to blackmail the cops. It does not arrest you, and this goes into the discard pile. However, if you don't avoid being arrested, you will go to the jail right where the white arrow is on the screen space. If you have associates, they come with you. And if you go to jail, you lose all your drugs and weapons, and those go back to the supply. Now on your turn, when you roll, you're going to be moving around here, But the associates do not give you one more move when you're in jail. And then when it's your turn and you actually do get past here, you actually will get out of jail and you'll go to your corresponding supplier's spot on the board. So players will continue clockwise, going through those 5 phases. If at any point in time you run out of money, you are out of the game. Unless you still have a way to make money, meaning you still have a bag of drugs, you can sell them and continue playing. So once the 60-minute timer's up, everybody will get one last turn, starting with the first player of the game. Now once the last player has finished their turn, everyone is able to liquidate their assets. They will sell any weapons they have for the price that they paid for them. You can also liquidate the drugs that you may still have for the price you paid for them, and then you add up all your cash and whoever has the most is the winner. Now if playing a 3-player game, the one game piece that's not selected by anybody can be used by any of the 3 other players on their turn, either their own or the one not used. And if you're playing with only 2 players, each player is going to pick 2 suppliers, but they're all going to use one game piece. So here's the 2 players. This player selected these 2, and this player selected these 2 for their suppliers. Well, I hope this helped you dive right into Dopeman and get to the fun quicker than you normally would if you had to read the rulebook yourself. Now, if you have further questions about the rules, go ahead and leave a comment right in this video and I'll do my best to answer them.